Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought today we would have a look at the leaked assets once again, because of the fact that Chabi has now revealed the vehicles that were in the leaked assets. You remember before we were guessing which ones they could be, well now everything has been revealed. So in this video we'll have a look at them, and also we'll have a look at some old ones, because there's kind of a funny stark difference between the old ones and of course the new ones. Anyway, if you like this type of content, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and also I'll leave a link to Chabi's website in the description. Highly recommend it. It is fantastic in order to kind of learn about the intricacies and internals of War Thunder from an outside perspective. Let's get into it. So before we get into the stuff which was leaked on the 22nd of August, there was a bunch of stuff that was released on the 11th of August, which is stuff like the Su-24 that we saw before, the Chinese vehicles like the J-10, J-10A, JF-17, you know, all these vehicles that we've covered in the past. But one of the interesting things that has actually been around for a year now, which came out and was leaked on the exact same day last year, is a bunch of other vehicles. So this year, on the 22nd, there was a bunch of vehicles leaked, which is the stuff we're going to look at in this video. But also, last year, on the 22nd of August, there was a ton of stuff too. You had the A6E SWIP, the F8F2, the XB72, the NAT F Mark 1 for Britain, then also the Mosquito B Mark 16. Along with the good old Charles F. Adams and the Forrest Sherman for the Americans, for the naval side of things, the Deutschland, and also stuff like the Glamorgan too. So in the leak list itself, and you can see all of this stuff on Chabi's website, there's a bunch of different vehicles. A lot of them were even leaked 5 years ago or even more, and may even never make it into the game. But understand that when we're looking at these, there was a bunch of other stuff that was leaked that has been added to the game too. So this is just a list of the stuff that hasn't come yet. So we know that exists, or at least exists in some form, but hasn't made it to the game. Also, on the mobile side of things, there's a bunch of stuff in there too, which is kind of crazy. Now, the new stuff from the leaked assets, which kind of confirms all of the other leaks that we have, are things that are super important to the next major update, but also probably stuff that's later on. Switzerland is a large part of it, and as we talked about previously, Switzerland looks like it's coming as an aviation subtree to Germany. Now, I know there's been a lot of talk around this and discussion about it. Should Germany get it? Should Germany not get it? And for me personally, like when it comes to major nations, they don't really need a lot of help. But when you do look at Germany, high-tier aviation is generally the place where they're struggling the most at. So giving them a little bit of a boost in there with vehicles, which you're not really going to see anywhere else, I'm kind of completely fine with. The problem is you'll struggle to see the lower-end vehicles from Switzerland in the German tech tree, because there's not really much point in them, and that kind of makes me sad. So instead of it being like a full-on Switzerland tech tree, it just seems to be a way of ferrying American vehicles into the German tech tree to make Germany viable at the high echelons in aviation. Now, Chabi has actually noted these as CHE vehicles, and I had to have a look into this because I didn't know this, but Chi, or Che, I suppose, means Switzerland, and the reason is if you go back to Latin, the name of the country is Helvetia, and then the whole name is actually Confederatio Helvetica, which means Swiss Confederation. So some people know it as CHE instead of, well, Switzerland. And I thought that was kind of interesting. So there you go, a little bit of tidbits. So the three vehicles that were leaked for the Swiss were obviously the F5E, which this will be, what, the third or fourth F5E in the game. America obviously has one. Thailand has one in the Japanese tree, and I believe China has one, so this should be the fourth one. And then the big one is the FA-18C. Now, we've talked about it before. If the Hornet goes to Germany before it goes to America, I honestly think you would have houses set on fire. It's crazy to think about, but if you really want to piss off like American mains, this is how you do it, which is generally not the greatest idea in the world, pissing off any of the major nations usually ends in a bad way. Like, even when stuff like the Hungarian Leopard 2A7 was added to Italy, there was a lot of German mains complaining about the fact that, oh, why doesn't Germany get the best version of the Leopard, even though they already have the 2A7, which is, well, better in my opinion than the Hungarian one, because it has a lower silhouette and less overpressure points. But if you literally take a vehicle that isn't even in the American tech tree and you just stick it in the Swiss one, especially such a highly anticipated vehicle, it's going to end very poorly, which is why I think it says on this leak that we'll see if this happens. There's a chance it happens this update, but it's more likely to come down the road, because if it happens now, because the reason why it would happen now is because the ICE is obviously nowhere near competitive compared to all of the other kind of AMRAAM slingers in the game, or Fox 3 slingers I should say, so they'd bring it into Germany to try and balance everything out. But the problem with that is, once again, if you add that vehicle to Germany and not add an equivalent to America, you are going to see fires you've never seen before. The other one, of course, is the P-16. P-16 being the fun little kind of CAS aircraft, or CAS jets, I should say, and that's more of what is needed for Germany. If you actually look at Germany, the problem areas are top tier, so like the 13.7 area, and then also the other area where it really struggles is its starter jets. Starter jets for Germany are awful. The Me-262s have been in a very negative position for a long time, and a lot of other parts of the tree have been in very negative positions too. So in general, that's the area that needs to be targeted, and hopefully the stuff like the P-16 can do that, but there needs to be other additions to try and help it out too. The two others that were leaked were the Israeli Kafir C-10, which we've talked about previously. This is the export version of the Kafir, so there shouldn't be too much difference between it and the other Kafirs. The only real thing should be armaments, which is why it's kind of interesting. Armaments is one of those things which separates a lot of these vehicles, which is why when the kind of Fox 3 era came in, we got a lot of very similar vehicles to what was already there, but they got improved radars usually, and also the Fox 3 edition. Well, the Kafir C-10 could give the Kafir a new lease of life in terms of its armaments, which is why I'm personally interested in it. The Kafir itself is a pretty good platform. Like it generally is very fast, it's very maneuverable, it's obviously got like the double canard thing going on, so it's a really cool aircraft to fly, but the biggest issue with it is always been its armaments, very similar to the Kurnasses for the Israelis too. So we'll have to see how this one goes, because I'm really interested. The other one is the German OSA. So this one's a bit odd, because we've had the OSA leaked for a bunch of different nations, right? So there's one for the USSR, of course, the 9A33. This is the same one that got leaked for Germany, by the way. And then also there is a Romanian OSA for Italy. So this is a vehicle which is being used by Gaijin to fill out these parts of the tech tree, just because if they don't do that, then there's going to be hell on earth, which there already is right now. Even with the BR distribution change between ground and aviation, there are still a lot of problems for players trying to deal with CAS. And I've seen people say the opposite nowadays. That's fine. It's not true, though. There are still very much CAS-dominant forces out there which are annihilating ground vehicles. So the OSA being spread around is one of those ways to try and combat it. The real question that has to be put out, though, is why is it that the OSA for the Germans is the vehicle which actually is not sure if it's coming in the next update. So the OSA for the USSR and Italy is supposedly nailed down. It's supposedly ready for this update. But for the German one, it's more of a we'll see if it comes. So I don't know whether they're doing a different model of it or a different variant of it or what's going on, but it just seems very odd that that is the case. The other part is for Britain. And for Britain, you have 3 vehicles which are turned up. So the Queen Elizabeth has been hilarious the last little bit. So we've now had all of the Queen Elizabeth battleships leaked. The Queen Elizabeth itself, the Warspite, the Barham, the Malaya, and also the Valiant. So literally, we've had everything leaked. So nobody is sure which one it is, probably because they're all the same. the good old Queen Elizabeth battleships. The only sad thing about the Queen Elizabeth class is the best named one was never finished, which was the Agincourt, which is a fantastic name for any ship, because of course the Battle of Agincourt. So yeah, we've had the Warspite leaked as an event vehicle, we had the Queen Elizabeth itself leaked earlier on, and now we have the Barham, the Malaya, or the Valiant, which have all been leaked as well. So it could be any of them, basically. We might as well just put in the Queen Elizabeth class, but this would obviously be another high-tier machine for Britain, which would be cool to see. Not as good as the ones that we already have, but filler vehicles are always nice. So yeah, that is the confirmed leaked assets from good old Chabby. No more guessing required, and it lines up with what we've seen in other areas. If you have any thoughts, please let me know, and I'm looking forward to the devlogs, looking forward to many of these different things. Should be a good update season. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.